Hi everyone, let's go through BTC Bitcoin. This is 4 hour. Um, 4 hour. What 4 hour is telling me that there is no action at this moment. Um, this was ugly drop, recent drop, and then this is a bounce. It went above the support level, which is 42690, and but for only for a brief moment, and then now it's consolidating. So I think this is still consolidation. I would say at this scale we don't need to think about downside to start with. I would think of downside if it starts dropping below this candle. That's why my alert is set here, and second alert is here for me to watch out what is really happening, because then this low, yesterday's low, to be monitored as well. So today's low is the first point of review if in case it starts going down, because then that's not a good sign. And if it also triggers this one, then of course comes down to this level, and we don't know. In that case, the downside risk goes up significantly. In short, in that case, this whole entire consolidation actually would lead to deeper drop. So in that case, it could land on this zone, support zone, that you see the box, and that could be lower. My hunch is, if that happens, so we are taking that scenario. The channel is not perfectly channel is not parallel, right now, and I connected this with this lower. But what if this drops further and make a real parallel channel where it could come down to this one? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this channel exactly parallel to this upper line, as I mean, not I don't want to touch this. Ideally we should touch it, but I'm doing it purposefully, because this is the first one, then second, and then third one could be here. So on this trend line, channel's trend line, you see, we don't know when and all, but from a downside scenario point of view, the recording is on, so try to keep yourself mute if possible. Okay, let's continue. Right, so that's that's why the today's low to be watched out, and then yesterday's low to be watched out, because if that is broken, then this could land within this one, or pattern point of view, it could land on this Janus, where if it breaks below this, then I mean, right now, if you ask me, I'm not interested in any lower support level, though we have it, but I'm not so interested. Why? Because if it goes down, then I'm interested in wherever it stops and then starts rising, then I'm interested. Because I think the risk management has to be applied starting from this level, in my point of view, right? From this level, I don't think one has to wait for this level, but it's a personal choice. I think the sample that I'm taking, have a look at it. New channel has been created, if you haven't noticed, then have a look at it. I have taken one ONE, one coin, as an example, and how risk can be managed and how planning can be done. So I wanted to demonstrate it through live example. So have a look at it, and these are the two levels for that example. So one has to decide that what makes sense. So if you look at that example, you would see there are stop loss at a coin level and also stop loss from Bitcoin level. Now on exchange you cannot do it, so that's why you have to set alert if you're online and then you manage it. So that's my style, where there would be coin level alert and then Bitcoin level alert. If the Bitcoin always overrides everything, means Bitcoin drives the market, right? You know that. So you have to have alert on both the sides. So if Bitcoin starts losing its key level, then it's a risk to alt. So unless the particular alt is really going up, diverges, then it makes sense from risk management point of view. Otherwise, no need to rely on alt stop loss, in my opinion. That's my way of doing it, because whenever Bitcoin stops, the alt stops. So if Bitcoin drops below a certain level, then alt would drop even faster, and they'll just replicate it, right? And so the drill. But I just wanted to touch base that example and point on this call. The explanation in that sample is pretty detailed, right? So how this, you will see how risk can be then managed using Bitcoin levels in conjunction with individual's coin setup, or risk management plan. So that's my style. So okay, so from Bitcoin point of view, you know the levels now. There's nothing new. This 45350 is the level it has to break above. Now, so each bounce is hope, but that's not confirmation. Bounce never provides confirmation. Support never can provide confirmation. Support provides bounce but not confirmation. Confirmation comes, when I say confirmation, it's not like a certainty, but a probabilistic outcome, so to speak. So it has to break about this high for it to go higher. It's as simple as that. And ideally it should break above 50k. So if it breaks above 45350, right, 45350, then we can say, okay, you know what, we are not thinking about potential downside risk, and in that case the risk alert which is currently on will be turned off. Okay, so right now it's on and it remains on until it breaks above this yellow level. So meanwhile, what you will see that even tiny bit of bounce from Bitcoin is going to push alt on the higher side. But the same thing, if it starts dropping, you will see this reflection, and you can notice this behavior. So the incremental approach that I promote is the way to go, because in that case you are not committing too much, and at the same time you are able to manage risk. Both incremental approach for entry on the rise and also exit. I don't believe in DCA. I believe in DCA by the way, but on the rise. So that's the difference, not lower. Some people do, or maybe most of the people do DCA when it drops. I do DCA, dollar cost average, on the rise. So it's expensive, but my focus is risk. My focus is not expense. It's a priority. Okay, so this is 4 hour. Let me hide drawings for now and then go for 1 day. One day. So 1 day, what you see here is it's on edge, clearly on edge, but it's not green. The candle is still red, and at least it has to break above this level, right? Even from candle point of view. Now I hit the drawing, so it's about candle now. Now if you look at it, this is the support level. I'm not drawing line, but you see this is a support, this is support, this is support, this is support. So basically if you consider the whole entire thing as a support, that means it the whole entire thing is also resistance. It's as simple as that, right? Because the price went below the support, so now for the upside move, the same becomes the resistance. So this is a big wall in my opinion. So you got this rejection here near that region, right? And then but it's a band, it's a zone, you see, because this is a support. As you see, this is a support. So, and then these are the, all these supports. So what we see here is the whole entire region is a big resistance zone, and that's why maybe it's spending time. Now how long it will spend time, it depends, but the point is it is spending time because of this heavy resistance zone. So that's why if it breaks above this level where it got rejected, then we are saying that we are not talking about risk. Of course, it may get rejected at a higher level, but at least we are not talking about downside risk immediately. So if it goes above, and if it starts dropping again for any reason, we'll have enough time. So that's why at this moment alert has to be remain on. Alert goes off above this level, as I said, and then when it breaks above 50k, then we got a green signal, right? Then we get a green signal. Anything can happen in between if there are any fundamental changes to the situation, but on technical ground, these are the key levels that are being tracked by. Okay, and that's what I'm watching at this moment, right? So on one day, it's spending its time. There's no price movement. It's just moving under, moving under a very narrow range, right? And if it breaks below today's low, then you have to be on alert. So you can clearly see from this one, right? That's why you cannot commit a lot of you cannot have exposure unless you're ready, you're online, and ready to take risk, and what is the potential loss and something. So I purposefully started the sample example to illustrate that I have enough money, but I'm not going to spend that money, right? So maybe that trade is not the good trade. You know why? I should have ideally taken that trade one, ONE1, when the Bitcoin is above 45350. That would have been ideal trade. I should have actually sit on cash. I spend 44k or something like that. I should not even spend this much because the risk is still high. So it is possible that I had to get out, and in that case it's like unwanted risk, so to speak. But I said fine, let me spend some money, and maybe, for example, so you get to know, and probably you will end up saving something, because many trader might have committed a lot, and many traders are still thinking about 100k. I'm thinking I would like to have 100k because I don't do short personally. In the US I cannot. So for me, sitting on cash is boring, super boring. I want to grow my money, so I would like to see 80k, 100k and all that level, but only when the condition is satisfied. So that's discipline on a personal front, and whatever I see I share here, right? So small start is okay, but nobody should assume that we are out of the woods. That's the message. That's the key message. When I woke up, I saw it melted, and that's the first statement I made under the BTC, because just to let you know that you don't forget the macro situation here, okay? Because as soon as you see bounce, the mind wants to say, okay, we are out, nothing is going to happen, whatever happened, and you try to come up, because that's our tendency, because everybody would like to see higher level, and my job is to bring that balance. Say, okay, I want the same, but we have a condition to meet. So maybe it's kind of a spoiler for some, I don't mind if, but I'm sticking to my stand here, being a TA, you know. So yeah, on Twitter also I lose followers whenever I do something like that. People don't like to see any downside move. It's actually opposite. When everybody was looking for the downside, when I say upside on 29k, not everybody I should say, but so many, then they didn't like, and then I lost followers. Recently, when I said potential downside risk and it dropped, you know, that from 49k it dropped, people didn't like and I lost followers. So the world is crazy. They don't want to hear anything which is not in line with their thought process. So that's why today still I do, you know, contribution on Twitter, and I said and reminded the same thing, that we need higher level, right? Of course, anyone who understands, otherwise they face what comes in their way, right? As we speak, Bitcoin is melting. I'm not saying crashing. As we speak, Bitcoin is melting. So you see now. So that's point is, it's reminding that this bounce is not good enough. This is not good enough. Okay, and still we cannot conclude anything about potential higher level. Okay, let me continue. So we saw 1 day scale. It's still red. There's nothing much. Let's look at weekly. Weekly is still red. If you look at the weekly, is still red, and notice that not just red, it is at the lower side. It is at the lower side. Okay, so that is risk to me. Unless it gets the level we are talking about, then it will bring notice. So bring balance. So from 45,350, which is not candles high. Candles high is 47347. So, but that's a different style, right? So the level that I gave, the yellow level, is from my calculation. This is candle. So from candle analysis point of view, at least we need weekly high, right? That means it must break above 47347. So maybe round up 47350. At least that much is required. Anything less from candle analysis point of view is not good enough, right? So this candle has to be green. Right now, if you look at the trend, is down. So this is down. This is an attempt. So this is flat, and then this is lower low. Correct. So for us to say this weekly trend from this particular segment of the wave, right? It depends what segment you take, and we'll cover that. So if you take this segment, the trend is down. Okay, and it could come down to this level. Why not? So seeing is believing. What we are seeing is it's not rising, it's falling, right, on a weekly scale. So there's no way to take risk. There's no need to take risk. That's my point. Yeah. Now, so this is about this segment, and then we can say this is the first drop, consolidation, bounce, and then this is correction as part of this particular wave. And if this correction is deep enough, then this whole entire recovery that you see from 29k would be at risk. Remember, we are talking about this particular downside move and the recovery wave at this moment, this zone. But if it comes down to this level, again around 29-30k, then this is vanished, right? Means it is, this particular drop will erase all the gain. So this whole entire thing nullifies, it vanishes. Then we are talking about the parent one, means this drop, then consolidation, and maybe I'll enable the drawing another chart maybe. Yeah, See what happens is, let's hypothetically, if it comes down to this level, then what you have to do visually, that you have to just forget what happened post 29k. That means, let me draw something. So you will usually, okay, when it drops at this level, 29 to 31k level, right, this level, this region, the bottom region, this bottom region, if it comes down to this region, then what? See, how would you visualize then? What you will see is the this is highlighting, I don't know why, well, maybe because of the mouse pointer, uh, but I'll quickly go through this. This drop, you see it's dropping, and then you assume that that drop is in continuation, right, is in continuation, because that's why I put black box here, so you don't see it visually. And then you can imagine, if the price comes down to this grayish area, right, that means then it's about continuation of this drop. I hope this is clear to you, right? So would you be, so you have to forget what happened here, whether you like it or not. Everything that happened from mid-July until now, you have to just forget about it. That's why I put this black box, so you don't consider that, because that is erased, totally erased, if Bitcoin comes down to this level. And in that case, we have to see that, okay, this is the uptrend. You put that into one bucket, say uptrend, and then you have to put this one as one correction, like a counter wave, which is going down in that case. And when you ignore this, now when you think from that point of view, then you will think that this correction is in continuation. We had little detour in between, where there was a good bounce, but then it disappeared. Okay, and then we'll have to look for potential lower level and so on. That's why 21k 20k level and other level will play the role. So it would come down to this level, mid 30s, and then mid 20s, and potentially 20k and so on, if this continues. And I'll be able to guide you, continuously on Opportunity Channel if that happens. So this is a bearish scenario that I wanted to touch base for a reason, and I spend more time because the weekly is low and we are into this weekly trend analysis call. And even if we don't look at weekly, even the daily is red at this moment. So it total makes sense for us to emphasize more on the downside, right, unless and until the level that we want to see is achieved. As soon as the level we want to see is achieved, we are going to change our weightage, right? See, our weightage is price dependent. It's like a pendulum. If you put more weight, it goes down on that side, on the left hand side, and the right hand side, something like that. So this is something similar. If the price goes above, right now the pendulum is weighing more on the downside, okay, for the reasons I mentioned and the charts that I shown. The moment it starts climbing up and breaks above, the balance shifts. But again, this 50k would then give more weightage on the upside move. And when it breaks above this point of rejection, ideally 53k plus, then it will say, okay, you know what, then it's definitely weighing, because that is final confirmation. This is like, still I would say, after breaking above this, there is very low probability, but and this point of rejection should give the final confirmation in mind. So these are, I would say, 1, 2 and 3 stages. This is the minimum requirement. and I said this is green level. I would, on a macro scale, I would keep this 53k, which I actually did for Bitstamp. No, I changed it. I had this here, but it makes sense. Fine. But anyway, right now even 50k is good enough for me. Right. So it is close. In fact, it was close here also. It is close. So how close, it's not important to me, right? It has to do it. So, and we would like to have it. I mean, break up, as I said. So I don't want it to go down. Of course not. I talk about going down because of all technical reasons, but I don't want it to go down. Of course not. So when I talk about more on the downside, it's just to emphasize that we are not biased towards upside, because that's what our wish. And if something is happening against our wish, it's very difficult to accept that fact that, oh really, that we really think 64k is the real, I mean, all-time high? Of course we don't want that to happen. So that's why I try to kind of bring a balance here, right? And this is not far, so why to be in haste? Like here, this was so close, and still I raised alert here. So you would be wondering, and I personally sold, as I said, right? And everybody know that I was stressing a lot here. This was so close, but I was sticking to my stand. And again, this is not that close, but not that far even. It's not a big deal. Less than 10% is not a big deal. But I'm not saying so, because I want to see it happening. So that's the difference. Okay. So I'm not bearish or bullish. I don't care about that. I'm here for making money. I'm here, personally speaking, and for this platform, it is about sharing technical analysis, right? And yeah, if that is helping you in your trade, then wonderful. Okay, so so disclaimer, whatever I shared on a personal front is not financial advice. You focus on my TA this level, and then you decide what makes sense. I'm trying to give some examples and scenario and sharing personal thing. This session is being recorded, so I'm just making it more official that this is not financial advice by any mean, not trying to influence anyone by any mean, right? Just make sure that you take all this input and decide what makes sense for you. Okay. Right. So we saw weekly. Let's look at monthly as well. See the monthly week, of course week, it's red, and we need even if you look at monthly, if you get prior week's high, which is what, which is also 50,500, so that's also pointing. So again, this is a candle analysis, very simple method, that even if a prior candle, if you are able to break above, that is a big deal for us, because then this should be broken above probabilistically. But right now, if you look at, this is on the bottom side, this is not at a higher end, right? So we need little more push, right? So even from the monthly scale, at this moment, on this date, we cannot say monthly is good, monthly is red, and monthly is near the low of this previous candle. And that's why monthly, weekly, and daily, all three scale are not having good height at this moment from candle point of view, from my own analysis level point of view. Okay, that's why it is to be under, I mean, that's why we have to be watchful, not fearful, watchful, and having a plan in place. Okay, so now this could retest the mid 30s, as I mentioned. It could mid 30 and then shoot up, and once it shoots up, then the probability of making higher is high, but then it has to break above all the level and we'll talk about, we don't have to talk about that for now. But so right now it could come down to mid 30s and then try to shoot up. If not, then it will consolidate this, and then there is a big problem if that happens. So in that case, again, drawing, I'll just remove this one because you got it. In that case, it could drag below, and it would also create a descending triangle in that case. So I think I covered that earlier. In that case, it would create this kind of a descending triangle. Oh my bad, I should bigger one, like this. So it could come down to this, and then we'll track this lower level, and then it could bounce again and then come down again. It could come down and try to bounce, and we don't care, we don't want to know what we want to, we want this confined area, and we want to track that area in that case. So if it comes down, because if it not necessarily all the descending triangle breaks below, but there are, like, percentage wise, the probability of breaking down is higher. Now when it breaks down, not necessarily it breaks down all the way and deep enough. That's very hard. There is a method to do it, but at this moment we don't have to talk about that. We'll see when it comes to that level. I want to highlight also the descending triangle, because that's what happened earlier. The monthly is not pretty, but you will get to. So this is about getting some visual image here, that what you're seeing is it's making high lower highs, right? All the attempt, every month's attempt was not able to break above the previous one. So here it is little above but not high enough. Here this one is higher than this but not high enough. This is not high, of course not, and then a breakdown and so on. If you look at the previous bull run, and this is your prior bear trend, in that case also this was the high, then attempt not high enough, then another low, not a lower low, flatten, getting support for a few months, but not able to break above this high. So you see, if you look at it, then it made a new low, so lower low, you see. So here it broke below. So it tried but not able to break above prior highs, and then it breaks above, and then ultimately the big drop, then prolonged consolidation, and then a bounce. In that bounce, you see it breaks above this level briefly. That is a sign that it wants to go up. This is a sign of reversal, and then next month you see it breaks above. We can say now it wants to really go up. Of course, anything could happen, but at least we are not thinking about downside move when it happens. So this is very important for you to know on a monthly scale, because unless you understand the big picture, you're not going to appreciate what is happening, right? Because the big money is lost when the trend is wrong, when you are in the wrong side of the trade from a trend point of view. One day here and there is fine, but you cannot miss the trend, right? So even here it's a big ugly drop, then for following months it tried to recover, you see. So this is a sign that it wants to consolidate, but not a confirmation. But when you see this kind of a move, which is significant move, and when it breaks above this lower boundary, right, and a higher, then this is important. But from in a big picture point of view, this high was not able. So this is a journey, and then if it starts dropping, this is a mini bear market, so to speak, mini bear market, and this low was broken below, which is important. Same thing. This is a major bull run and a major bear trend. This is a minor one, mini one, I would say, as part of this, and then a breakdown when the low was broken below, right? So and then climb up again. When it climbed up, this candle was significant. Why? Because this candle, monthly candle, broke above this candle, you see that. So it is so important. and then this is 10k level. People were worried about that, this level, and I said, I mean, I used to say, why to worry, because the trend is not broken. This is now, this monthly low has to be tracked. When it went down, people feared a lot here. Why? You know what, they were tracking at a very low time scale. They were not tracking at a monthly scale or weekly scale. When you track at a daily scale, you will see some patterns which sometimes you have to ignore when you focus is. So when you focus on trend, a big one, you know, trend, I mean, this bull run level, then you are supposed to track on a monthly scale, in my opinion, right? So when this was tricky one, and the, like, everybody was fearful. In fact, here also they were fearful, but then it was higher than this monthly, and then went up, right, and then surprised many, and then a boring period, 2 months of boring time. You know, this is boring time, and then it went down. Everybody's so scared, but you know what, it is not breaking below this. So you see, this is a low, this is low, this is low, this is low, this is low, higher low. It is making higher low, so why to worry? Trend is not broken, so why to worry? But people were worrying, and then look at that. So you see my point. My focus is trend. Some percentage here and there doesn't change. Of course, I have to look at both the side, not just macro, but also on a daily, and which we do on a weekly scale. But I'm emphasizing that you are prepared of all, and I'm showing some examples from historical, and this is some simple observation. You don't have to be TA, by the way. I'm sure actually this session is about weekly update, but I'm sure you will end up learning some tea out of this, I'm telling you. And these are simple things, but probably one of the most important aspects, which many people, many traders ignore. There are so many fancy methods, okay, you may explore and do it, but what I just said today on this call is so simple, but so effective, and so effective that you will appreciate in future when you do the analysis. So you see the trend. Now this is the first drop, and we have to be careful. Now from, let's take it further, right? Take it further. So why I'm focused on this? You know that, right? I said I'm adding a black box, and I did that explanation. Why I'm so worried? Why? Because this is not a concern at this moment, but we have to start understanding we cannot expose. And but if this is here, of course this is a point of bounce. This was point of bounce, but again it's here. So can we take it lightly? Of course not. Why? Because this candle's low provided all the support, and if it comes down to again this level, man, then we got to be serious. Because then, why? Because it didn't make the higher high, right? This is lower high, and if it comes down to this level, we got to be serious, damn serious about this one. Because what if it goes down and make a new low? Then you can think, what if it do something like this? Because then it's a trend. Then we are talking about bear trend here. Then we are talking about 64 as all-time high for this trend. Not kidding. I'm damn serious about this one, this time. And I have made so many calls. You know that, right? Every other day I'm making this call. Probably I'm hammering. And I don't want to spoil your enthusiasm, but I want to bring that balance. I occasionally see the chatter. I mean, I do daily. I see, but I still see some comment which indicates that nothing is going to happen, nothing happening. So I'm going to, yeah, you may say I'm spoiling their mood, which I don't mind. Right, because I did the same here as well. And I did the same when I drop here, and I'll continue doing that. Okay, so I think you got this macro view, why this is so important that it breaks above 50k level. starting with 45 350 level, three stages as I said, right? That's the summary. So three stages: 45 350, then 50k plus, and finally about this rejection point, which is whatever, around 53k plus. Then we are talking about higher. Until unless that happens, we're not talking about 80k. But you know that, well, as soon as it, just to highlight that after this all-time high that there's 80k, and I'll keep providing. You don't have to worry about it. I'll keep providing. So I'm not bearish, I'm not bullish. For me, the level drives. If the levels depends where it's heading, if right, think about left and pendulum, left and right weight. Wherever the weight is weighing, I mean wherever it's weighing more, we are seeing that that side is going down. As simple as that. Okay, it's not about taking side, but it is about recognizing the direction. It is about seeing where the weight is, you know, where the yeah, where it's weighing more on a monthly scale. So I think that's the message from my end. Okay, and we'll talk about alts in alt session, but alts are puppets. Okay, don't rely on, if you can take advantage of alt, you take advantage when Bitcoin bounces, but don't assume that it is going to give you, unless there is a pump and dump and you ride, and that's a different story. But I'm talking about longer term here. I'm talking about strategic trend here. I'm not talking about 1 day 1 hour of pump and dump. Okay, with that note, I'm ending the Bitcoin session. I hope you'll find this helpful. So I'm closing the record. I mean, I'm turning off the recording and open for your Q&A, open for your questions.